Pipe Network presents.
On this episode of Season 4, Let's Talk.
the 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 circle that you surround yourself, the circle of people that you surround yourself with, diba? They'll be helping you to have a clear vision, diba, on what you want to achieve and whatnot. As for the experience, because that defines you, diba? Kasi yun na ikaw eh. Yung parang on how you handle yourself, how you approach things, diba? It's because you have learned some things all throughout the span that you live in this world. Parang ganyan.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Rajiv Show, and I'm your host Rajiv Doreswamy, and this show aims to help reach out to those who are currently struggling in life and to remind you that life is indeed beautiful when you're inspired to make it your own. Hey folks, welcome to the Rajiv Show, and my guest today, Drei Aquino, and he's a podcaster as well. Of course, from the Podcast PH and of course from the Podcast Directory. Dre, how are you doing, pal?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Nothing to complain about. A bit out of my since it's quite late in the evening, so you know me. Meron akong bedtime time talaga. So baka may drunk personality ako kapag ganito. So just be wary of that. How about you, pal? How about you?
I'm doing good, pal. I'm doing good. Could you give my listeners a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, ayun, I'm Drei Aquino. So, unang-una, yun, like Raj, I do podcasting as well. So, the name of my podcast is Coffee Breakers Club Podcast with me, Drei, di ba? And aside from this one, my day job is bali, project management professional by day and then podcaster by night, di ba? May alter ego. And then I won't be revealing my age.
Ay, wag na, wag na.
That is a sore subject. Oh, wag na. So I guess I leave it at that kasi if you want to learn about me more, you can always check my podcast. Oh,
Yeah.
diba?
Galing nun ah. Galing nung segue. Yeah. And as always, I ask my guest in the Rajiv Show, if you and I were classmates in high school, who were you, pal?
All right. High school, no? So this is a very wonderful time for I guess almost all of us,
True.
right? Kasi dito natin nabubuo yung dito nag-start yung personality natin dahil nag-grow. Though I'll be speaking with talaga kung sino ako nung high school, and back in high school and I think even until now is I'm the guy na medyo pwede mong ma-lost sa crowd. I don't really stand out, right? I am the guy na medyo tahimik lang, ganyan. Na as the cliche goes, parang tahimik pag una pero pag nakilala mo is sumiingay na, ganyan. So I really kumbaga yun talaga ako. I'm not particularly say loud. Though madaldal ako, but I'm not particularly have a loud personality and whatnot. I easily make friends with my classmates and whatnot kasi very neutral ako, ganun. Parang madali akong makausap or maka-close kasi nga medyo yung I can adjust myself to certain people quite easily, and until now I think I still have that ugali, let's say. But yeah, the very silent guy, hindi naman silent na literal na
parang serial killer.
I don't really stand out. Yeah. Don't mess with me, parang gano'n. Parang gano'n. Parang anong ginagawa ni Andre? Ba't niya ako tinitignan ng masama? Actually, iniisip ko lang kung ano yung ila-lunch mamaya. So,
yun din sana sasabihin ko eh.
Parang gano'n lang.
And the next question that I ask is that who is your greatest motivator and why?
Who, no? So this is a bit of parang a hard one for me, let's say, because really I don't have a particular, say, a person to that I really follow or influence me at that level. If anything else, it's actually, say, medyo cliche na naman, but it's actually God. So para yun yung pinaka-motivator ko because again, we have all our belief systems and whatnot, but that is for me. The closest thing that I could say that actually influences me, right? It's actually Kobe Bryant.
Oh.
So he's a basketball player, and yeah, kung meron man, siya na yung pinaka-closest kasi una, I liked him as a basketball player lang, right? But eventually, nalaman ko yung story niya and his mindset, diba? His mentality, diba? And then, that is when, okay, this guy is more than a basketball player for me. And with that, I could say that, yun, siguro siya na yung kung tao yung pinag-uusapan, siya na. Yun. I think that it's the, yun yung ko. May sasagot ko doon, yeah.
Pero yung follow-up question doon, basketball player ka ba? Or what got you into the drive? How did you actually get to envision him as your motivator?
As a basketball player, hindi. I actually sucked at it, right? But I like anything else, I'm really kumbaga interested in it, invested in it. Na I am a fan of the sport. Like many Filipinos, right? Na it started with the growing up in a household with brothers watching it, diba? My father watching it, and parang ay pinapanood nila, so panoorin ko na rin kasi ito yung ginagawa ng pamilya ko.
Ay parang sa bagay,
and then
go with the flow kind of thing kasi they're watching it, parang ganon.
Exactly. You just wanted to fit in nung bata ka, di ba? Parang kung ano ginagawa nila, gagawin mo na rin kasi feeling mo yun yung tama or yun yung So, parang sponge, di ba, kapag bata ka. So, but that got stuck na even with that, kung medyo I could think for myself, yeah, I really do love the game or the sport. So, with that, hahanap ka ng parang natural progression, hahanap ka ng team na susuportahan or papanoorin mo. And during that time, the Lakers were the team, no? So, and then having Kobe as the younger guy that gets them those championships, it will be natural for you to gravitate towards him because ay, siya yung pinakabata and bata lang ako, so parang ay pwede, 'di ba? Yun yung idol ko. And it grew from there. Yeah, watching him and everything. Parang very organic yung pagiging influential niya sa akin, let's say.
Amazing. I'm also a Kobe fan, but when I saw The Last Dance, that changed my mind. That blew my mind. I think I mentioned that in one episode, but yeah, that blew my mind as well. It's fascinating. Kobe was featured, I think, on the second episode. Spoiler alerts for those who haven't seen The Last Dance yet. Question is, why am I saying
Netflix sa'yo.
The question is, why am I saying spoiler alert when that thing was already like so everybody's talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he got featured, right?
Yeah.
And it's a bit of parang ano sa kanya, parang dedicated sa kanya yung episode, which is a good gesture on MJ's part.
Yeah. And the next question is, what made you who you are?
Ooh, interesting. So, wow, heavy hitters na yung tanong mo, Raja, in fairness.
Yeah.
What made me who I am? I guess, yung big part there is on how I got or yung the way I was brought up or kung ano yung situation of me growing up, no? So since growing up, we didn't have actually that much. Kumbaga, mahirap yung buhay and everything. So doon natuto akong maging, say, matiisin or being satisfied on what I have, diba? No matter how small it is or lacking it is. At the same time, in a way, naging independent ako because of that na, of course, they say our parents will be providing me something, right? Yung baon and whatnot. But at an early age, I kumbaga natutunan ko kung paano mag-ipon and whatnot. Kasi nga, kung meron akong gustong bagay, I need to to work myself para makuha yon and not relying on my parents kasi in a way wala din naman. So ganun. Because of that situation, parang mas naging driven ako in terms of halimbawa sa studies, 'di ba? Para just to make sure that I could have the best opportunities that I can have kapag naging, say, tumanda na. So yun yung parang naging motivation din na okay, this is our situation right now, so make sure na you do whatever you can para hindi na ma-experience kung halimbawa magkakaroon ako ng pamilya eventually, hindi ganun yung situation din, parang ganun. So I guess that is that, and yun nga, living in that parang situation, medyo mas appreciative ka sa mga bagay-bagay, no matter, and doon mo marirealize na yung mas mga importanteng bagay is yung mga small things, diba? Yung mga small things, and you can find satisfaction, fulfillment even sa mga maliit na bagay. Ayun.
Wow, lalim yun It felt like
ito kasi kasalanan mo to
parang I felt like I spoke to Filipino Kobe Bryant.
kung Filipino Kobe Bryant, sasabihin ko, kailangan mong talunin lahat. Kailangan mong talunin lahat para kayo nasa taas. Parang ganun si Kobe.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's powerful stuff. And
yeah.
This one is also a question about the future. And the question is, if today was yesterday, what would you keep and what would you let go of?
If today was yesterday, ano yung i-keep ko and I'll be letting go? Parang ganun. Siguro, I'll be keeping all the connections that I have. Right? I mean, and also the experiences that na-experience ko. And because those connections and those experiences are what defines you as a person then, diba? Kumbaga sasabihin na tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are, something of that along those lines, right? Na really, sabi mo nga kanina, living in this world right now is kind of hard na. And sometimes, or actually, yung sa'yo, makakatulong, diba? For you to survive and feel like there is more to this life is the people around you. The circle that you surround yourself, the circle of people that you surround yourself with, diba? They'll be helping you to have a clear vision, diba? On what you want to achieve and whatnot. As for the experience, because that defines you, diba? Kasi yun na ikaw yung parang on how you handle yourself, how you approach things, diba? It's because you have learned some things all throughout the span that you live in this world, parang ganyan. So yun yung i-keep ko. Yung naman ila-let go ko, this is a bit harder, something to let go, no?
It's true.
I guess yung pressure, okay? Yung pressure of say because right now we are at the age, or me, no, I am at the age na soon I'll be trying to build something on my own, like my family, business, let's say, right? So, though sasabihin na it's our own race, di ba? Ganyan-ganyan. But may life is short lang dito sa mundo. So, there is a bit of a pressure there na, okay, ito na dapat yung ginagawa ko, or ito na dapat yung meron ako, na those goals are actually set by me, di ba? And sometimes you can't hit them due to various reasons, and sometimes you can't control them. But again, the pressure is there. Kahit no matter how hard you sometimes na hindi ma-feel yung pressure or tinatanggal yung pressure, sure enough na kahit konti, mararamdaman mo pa rin siya. Diba? So, I guess, yun yung masarap tanggalin minsan. Diba? Given the nature of my personality, that carefree, parang happy-go-lucky, optimistic, and yun, siguro, yeah.
Wow. That's so deep, man.
I hope I answered that question.
That's so deep, man.
Good.
It's very, very deep. Cool stuff. Anyway, my next question is now futuristic. This is a two-part question as well. With the happening of the future, with the change of times, what are your thoughts for today's future, and of course a little bit about your life? You can start with your life and transition to the future, or you can start with the future and transition to your life.
Okay. Siguro, if I may, I could just combine it in a way.
Sure.
So, parang my future life, parang yun, diba? So, what I strive for talaga is, another cliche is true happiness, diba? And sometimes, that translation of what happenness means in the future is lost minsan, or na nagiging blurry yung vision natin kung ano ba talaga yung happiness and whatnot. Right? So, with this, parang ang iniisip ko, go to the basic on what really makes you happy. So, for example, having a 3-story house, that is nice, right? But will that really make you happy? Is that your measure of happiness? Having, say, 3 sets of automobiles, do you really need that to say that you're happy? Something of that nature. Kasi, in a way, na-influence na din ako dun sa mentality of being a minimalist. Parang, really, strip away all the excess and just focus on what is necessary. And most likely than not, that bare essentials are really could give you what you're actually looking for, diba? So parang ganyan ko siya nakikita yung magiging buhay ko, and that is actually what I'm aiming for in a way, na future of being happy and contented on what I have, whatever that is. Ayan.
Wow, that was minimalistic. Wow, I wanna unbox that if you don't mind. Like, wow, minimalistic. Coming from an introverted, from an external source, and then once you get to know the person, where does minimalistic the minimalism come? Where does that part of your life sing? Where did you find out?
Where it stemmed for, parang ganyan. Yeah. It's from, I guess, what happened was, sabi ko nga kanina, doon sa una ko na banggit na growing up, we didn't really have much, right? So in a way, I'm living the minimalistic lifestyle kasi yun na yung lifestyle namin, right? Kumbaga yun na yung buhay namin, right? So, and then given the situation where nagkatrabaho na, ganyan, and now I have the capability to or the capacity to buy the things that I wanted to have nung wala pa, 'di ba? So, doon ako nag-splurge na, ay, gusto ko na to, mabibili ko na to, and whatnot. And one way, and after some time, napansin ko na, wow, I have all this stuff
Yeah.
na, for example, just to give you a vision, or a visual, is meron akong, say, 26 pairs of shoes and slippers. Parang ganon. Which includes naman yung black shoes na pang work, ganyan-ganyan, yung pang bundok or pantakbo. But still, 26 pairs is too
Yeah.
much.
Unless you're an
Right?
octopus, then yeah.
And yeah. Or a centipede even,
Yeah.
di ba? And then, and then, okay lang sana yun. Pero ang napansin ko kasi noon is, parang kalahati ng waking hours ko is just trying to look or find the next new thing to buy.
Ah,
You know?
okay.
Parang I joined a lot of groups in Facebook and whatnot. Reading a lot of stuff online to know what's the new and the best, something like that. And I'll go out of my way to buy that stuff. Na feel ko na toxic na. Parang sa akin lang, parang yung to the point na, parang dati ipon ko lang to, or I have this ipon, pero hindi naman lahat nakukuha, pero syempre nag-share out tayo ng konti para sa mga bagay na yun. So na-realize ko na parang yung happiness na makukuha mo in buying stuff, meron naman talaga.
Parang
right? Meron naman
yung materialism?
Oo.
Parang ganun?
Oo. Meron naman talagang happiness nun. Pero ang hindi natin nare-realize is sobrang panandalian yung happiness na yan. Kasi you're not actually happy on having it. What the happiness is yung fact na yung action na bumibili ka ng something na bago.
Yeah.
Yun yung dangerous na parang para siyang drugs. Para siyang nakaka-addict na legal. Alam mo yun?
Yeah.
Kasi wala naman magbabawal sa'yo magbumili ng mga bagay-bagay na. But doon yung realization na, okay, what makes me happy is the act of buying it and not actually
caring about
having it. So, So walang kwenta yung kapag nasa akin na to the point na nagiging na lang sila parang nakastock lang sa bahay, diba?
Yeah.
Di mo naman magamit lahat and whatnot. And with that, doon ko na-realize na dati hindi ako ganito. So ano yung what changed? And then, it's a conscious decision of, okay, I need to solve this, diba? To improve myself. And looking online, just parang total accident, may nakita akong parang post ng parang minimalist tutor. Clicked on it, read about it, and yung napaka-interesting dito, ginagawa ko to dati, ganito ako dati. Ngayon meron ng term to describe it. Right? So with that, and then reading a bit more, watching say documentaries and reading books about it. Doon ko na-realize na, okay, I need to do this now. Kasi this is just me going back to the real me. Parang ganon. Diba? So ayun, doon nag-start. And sabi nga, yung minimalism kasi, yung hindi nare-realize ng iba or yung pagkakakilala nila sa minimalism is just the aesthetic part of being a minimalist. Yung parang walang masyadong design or yung suot laging black lang, ganyan. Yung sapatos purong puti lang, something like that. The aesthetic part of it. It's part of the minimalism culture, but yun yung surface level lang yun. The deeper understanding of what minimalism is really living a life of having a direction in a way na, or a mentality na just own what you need. Parang ganon. And nothing more. Something of that nature. Parang meron akong iniisip na term to really describe it, but for some reason di ko siya maalala ngayon. But kapag naalala ko siya, bigla ko lang siyang sasabihin sa episode na to. Parang a moment of euphoria. Ay, yung pala yung sasabi ko lang. But ayun, naalala ko na, intentional living. intentional living, na lahat ng ginagawa mo is very intentional, na it gives more meaning sa buhay mo. Parang ganun. So, when you buy something, make sure that it contributes on your betterment, parang ganyan, or self-improvement, parang ganyan. So that is yun yung mas malalim na minimalism.
The next question that I have in mind is that you mentioned you've seen a Facebook post. The follow-up question to that is, ever since you heard about the idea of minimalism, was it hard? Parang the direction is, what the direction to the question is that when you transition from being a consumer to a minimalist,
perfect term,
did you
perfect
have
term,
that same thing, that same feeling that if I do this, you're asking yourself whether whether is it worth it, yung parang ganun, self-doubt, self-denial, like or am I just
parang kaya ko bang panindigan,
or I'm
in a
just
way,
bullshitting
diba?
myself or something? Was that the feeling?
Exactly. Quite the contrary. Hindi, kasi so why? It's because it's just me reverting back to the original me, right? So it was a journey that is quite easier for me. Now, having said that, a lot of people na nakilala ko or nakausap ko had a really hard time doing it, and that is for a reason. And yun nga, kasi nga yun na yung lifestyle mo. A habit is really hard to break.
Once
Tama?
it's integrated.
And the good thing about exactly. So, the good thing about me is hindi pa naman ganon katagal yung naging lifestyle ko na ganon as a very, very good consumer. Hindi pa ganon kalalim and katagal. So, and one of my tawag dito, sakit then is once I get into something, I do it at 100%, no looking back. So let's say for podcasting, when I decided to launch it, 100% going in. When I tried, say, as small as yung 52-week challenge ng pag-iipon ng pera, kung narinig mo na yun, I could tell you about it later. No? I'll do it 2 years straight. I'll do it. Parang ganun. So, with my minimalism journey or going back to the minimalism, it's quite fast pace yung ginawa ko talaga. Kasi ang iniisip ko noon, or yung sinasabi ko, kung hindi ko siya gagawin na mabilisan, magkakaroon ka ng time na mag-doubt.
So do it before you forget it, or do it before you realize it.
Yeah. Parang diba? Parang if you are sure na what you're going to do will really improve you, 100%, no question about it. And you really need to do it now para maging para umayos yung buhay mo, ayusin mo, di ba? And sometimes doing that, kahit alam mong tama yung gagawin mo, sometimes magkaka-doubt ka pa rin. Kasi in a way, yun na yung naging lifestyle mo, or yun na yung nakasanayan mo. Is it worth it? Wala naman ako sinasaktan na ibang tao. Right? Wala naman masama sa ginagawa ko, so why change it? Pero I didn't give myself that chance to ask that questions. Just do it. So nung sure na ako, I planned out on what to do, and then just do it. Para Nike commercial na tayo. But just do it.
It's funny.
Not a sponsor.
It's funny. Your mindset is much more opposite. It's basically like the Mamba mentality, but in my perspective, as I listen to it, it's like you unpack the layers. It's funny, kasi the way I think, it's much more like the negative side of how saying from what people said about me is that I have the ability to talk. When I have a conversation, or when I have this idea in mind, like I have the confidence. I can talk like this conversation. I have a conversation. Believe me, I can talk myself out of prison. If that's the funny analogy. the funny thing about it
Mm.
is that people mention that if there are certain, I think it's a habit of mine that I've subconsciously didn't notice that when
Mhm.
when I say things like I want to do this, okay, halfway, I think even my dad mentioned this, is that halfway through, like kung may pieza, a piece, like a guitar piece or a song or something that I want to learn, I finish it merely 20, 30, 50%. And then after that, I
Mhm.
tend to give up. And the
Mm.
enthusiasm from the beginning is there, the energy, the vibe, whew, let's go, let's do this, let's make it happen. And then 20, 30%,
Mhm.
it's like, what am I doing with my life? It's like that realization. And I
Mm.
think, yeah, I do not know how to get off of this thing. And it's interesting how you keep that mindset. It's like, it's tough. I mean, for me, if I wish I could have that mindset, I'd
Mhm.
probably kick ass in the things that I would have done in the past. But yeah, I mean,
Mm.
that's
Mm.
really interesting from coming from you. That's really I
Yeah.
salute you to that, for having that instinct, or that trait. Is it hereditary,
Mhm.
or is it also in the family, by the way, or it's just you,
Uh,
that killer
I
instinct?
think to a certain level, it's just me, I think, kasi parang minsan medyo may pagka-psycho na yung gano'n na, 'di
Oh,
ba? Pero I guess, Raj, yung pwede pang makatulong in terms of
ah,
that, na having those times na, is this thing worth it trying or
yeah.
pursuing? Ang lagi kong iniisip kasi is regret. For regret kasi,
Ah,
iniisip ko na mas gusto ko mag-regret dun sa sinubukan ko siya at nag-fail ako. So there's regret there, di ba? Ay, nag-fail ako, so may regret doon.
ah,
Pero mas mabigat yung regret na parang kung di mo sinubukan kasi, hindi mo malalaman kung mag ano ba, will it work, will it produce the outcome or the output that I wanted, will it be successful or not. Yun yung
yeah,
questions na hindi mo masasagot kung hindi mo sinubukan.
yeah,
So, and then regretting of not doing thing, or regretting, the regret of not doing that is much more, has a more lingering effect sa atin versus dun sa nag-regret ka lang na, ay, nag-fail siya, sayang yung oras at time ko, sayang, I regret doing it.
yeah,
But that regret is parang mas light versus dun sa hindi mo man alam kung magiging okay or
yeah.
hindi. So yun yung ano ko, isa sa mga mindset ko din na just try it out and see if it will be good or not. Parang ganyan.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I gotta say, you are a phenomenal conversationalist. Just so you know, folks, who if you're tuning in, this conversation that we had, I just said we're just gonna let this rip. We're gonna ask questions. I never expect this to happen, and I'm genuinely amazed, amazed with my guest today.
Yun yung sigurong the reason why I did podcasting as well, because there's a lot of people then. So, by the way, first and foremost, thank you for saying that. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah,
But say, people really tells me that I have this, yun nga yung parang hindi siya talent eh. Ano ba tawag dito? Basta magaling makipag-usap or something ganon.
conversationalist.
Um, Conversation is
Yeah,
exactly na yung growing up nga, in the barrio and whatnot. So you can, and just living on that's
mm,
environment, you're going to talk. I grew up talking to, say, let's say, poor of the poorest, parang
yeah,
ganyan. And then when I got sa high
huh,
school, fortunately nagkaroon ng time or chance na makapag-aral ako dun sa parang private school. So
yeah,
middle class and the higher class are there, and having conversations with
Yeah.
them. So parang anong nangyari, parang from top to bottom, meron ako nakakausap.
Oh.
So that gave me the unique perspective of having the perspective of both classes or yung bracket na
Yeah.
yon, right? And at the same time, and having that, you have the ability
Yeah.
now to adjust, recalibrate on whoever you are talking to. So halimbawa, kausap mo is very kanto, switch the kanto vibe mo. Kausap mo is medyo pa-joke only. Pwede mong i-switch yung joke only mo. If the conversations gets deeper, you can switch to that gear again. Parang you can para mix and match kung sino yung kausap mo. And good naman na nakuha ko yung yun, yung para nag-stick yung ganung
The
ugali.
adaptive
And
language, multi-language thing.
Exactly, yeah. So, yun, halimbawa, sa trabaho din, kausap mo yung mga, halimbawa, mga expat or boss mo. Ayan, syempre, iba yung di ba? Pero kapag kausap mo, yung mo, ng tropa mo lang. So, parang adjust lang, parang ganyan.
I want to highlight the next thing because you've opened it. It's funny. I was about to change into the next segment, but since you've opened this, the word conversationalist, I've built into this mentality. It's funny. Over the years, I've developed this. I don't really call it skill. It's more like a filter system, because I'm sure you've noticed throughout the conversation. That I'm very philosophical and very deep. I really want to I want to cut the meat to the bone, and understand each layer as the knife gets into or that sounded a little bit cannibalistic, but all right, cut the I didn't
medyo morbid na konti,
but the main point there is that I want to understand a person by the layers of how they are, and this is my filter system. I think I saw this from I read this or I saw this from Jay Shetty, the Socrates method, where Socrates, this was a joke, I think, a joke by Jay Shetty, is that when someone came to Socrates and told him that I heard this news about your wife, and Socrates said that okay, someone's told Socrates about his friend. So Socrates responded that if you tell me this information, he had three filter system. The first is, will it give me value? If not, if no, then it's not gonna go through that filter system. Kalimutan ko na yung mga filter system, pero in the end of it is that, will it help me in the long run? That's actually very powerful, the last one. And then when the person said no, he said, forget about it. I don't want to know about it because my time is worth of missing. And I took that face value. I didn't take it like a joke. I took it in a serious sense that when I was in college, every time I meet a person, I don't really judge them based on sing. I judge them based on how they can conversate. And how I do that is I eavesdrop. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it sounds creepy. I'm not saying I eavesdrop because I want to know what's the character. How does this character think? How does this character speak? How does this character present himself? And it's funny that when someone approaches me and then have a conversation with me, and I ask them, we have a conversation, and then I finally realized that once we are there, like 1 or 2 hours, sometimes. There are some instances that I have conversations with people. That's when I'm already hooked to the person, and that's saying the funny thing. And my filter system, taken from the example that I meant, is that when someone talks to me, I always ask myself the question: is that if you're gonna give me if this conversation in my head, of course, I don't tell them upfront. If you and I are gonna have a conversation, are you gonna give me any value? And if the answer is no, then I'll just nod and agree. And then if we split apart after 20 seconds, well and good. But if it extends, I'll have to just sit there and take it like I'll have to sit there and think. But yeah, that's my method. And the problem though now with the social media sphere is that you cannot really get the physical attributes of a person in terms of expression. That's the saddest thing lang with the pandemic and lockdown. is that everybody expresses this. It's funny. Someone will say this, someone will say that. But once the pandemic is done and it's, hey, pal, let's meet up. I want to talk to you. You got good information. You meet the person in the end, parang yung usapan lang pala, alam mo yung ginawa ng tita namin sa kabila, yung ganun. And it's like, that value is like, oh man, this is, brain is boom, brain is like, what's going on? But yeah, that's my method for saying. It's just that I feel bad. I can't really apply that in things, so I have to like filter it out as I go. As I go deeper into the conversation, that's the only challenge, especially when it's in textual form. It's not physical form, because textual, you can't really read between the lines, yung parang ganun. But yeah, that's one of my perspectives in my viewpoint, and yeah, that's
pretty that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Though there can be challenges in it as well, kasi parang sometimes sa akin yung na-realize ko din, now that I'm in my 20s, na
nilaglag mo sarili mo dyan, ha? Wala ako dyan.
20s lang, 20s yung sinabi ko. Parang sometimes I could relate on the note na sometimes ang hinahanap mo talaga is yung conversations that gives value to you. So say kausap mo yung mentor mo, kanya, or a very good person on his or her field, right? And sharing stuff to you that could potentially change or improve your life, parang ganyan. But sometimes masarap din i-break yon na sa akin, personally lang to, na minsan masarap din pag-usapan yung mga much lighter.
Parang ginawa ni tita sa kapitbahay.
Pero hindi naman up to that level. Pero yung halimbawa, talking about stuff na, halimbawa, talking about a movie na, a very dumb movie that you both love.
That is like
that walang yung parang walang sustansya. Alam mo yun, movie na walang sustansya kunyari. Or a meme.
Yeah.
Or a meme, or a stupid song that you both liked and talking about it, and mga ganong bagay. Parang sabi ko nga, there is beauty, no, and bigat do sa mga bagay na maliit lang, small things, small gestures and whatnot, na sometimes natatrap tayo dun sa mentality na isa lang yung buhay. I need to live the best life that I can, to have all the knowledge that I could physically fit sa utak ko, parang ganyan, na or experience things na gusto ko ma-experience lahat ng magaganda or malalaki, magarbong bagay. But sometimes really sometimes we just need to look deep on ourselves, na sometimes hindi naman kailangan. Minsan, ito lang yung kailangan mo pala. The small part, and then add ka lang ng parang, kumbaga sa pagkain, meron kang main dish, pero dapat meron ka rin mga sides. Parang gano'n, hindi po pwede na puro mains yung nasa plato mo. May steak ka dyan, may lobster ka dyan, hindi masarap. So, it needs to be a combination of both. Parang gano'n. And sometimes, having that break on the more heavy stuff would be very beneficial for you. Especially sa mental health natin, na kung inaano natin na, uy, gusto kong malaman to, gusto kong matutunan to, lahat-lahat, something na gano'n. Minsan, na-overburden natin sarili natin and hindi natin napapansin. In a way, di ba? But sometimes kasi, the intent is very good di ba? Kasi for betterment yan di ba? So, for self-improvement. Everyone should strive for that. But ang sigurong iniisip ko lang dito is have a steady pace. Sabi nga natin, isa lang yung buhay. So ingatan mo din, 'di ba? Ingatan mo din, parang
true. Wow, it's powerful. Woo. Anyway, this
Di mo na-expect ko,
yeah,
bro?
I mean, I wanted it not to. I wanted it to be like that, but folks, before we get into our favorite segment, which is of course art, music, entrepreneurship segment,
Mhm,
we're gonna have a little bit of short break, and we will be right back,
mhm.
folks. Stay tuned, and we'll be back. This episode is sponsored by Dulce House, the online shop for your guilty pleasure. Use the promo code PIPE to buy chocolate chip cookies, Oreo cheesecake cookies, and other baking goodies. The promo code is PIPE. Go to the link in the description to find out more.
Mainit na diskusyonan,
Masarap na kwentuhan,
maninamnam na usapan,
at nakakagising na balitaktakan.
parang kape lang. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Waya Angeline.
Join us in our conversations at Coffee na Lang Dear Podcast.
Hey folks, welcome back, and welcome back to the Rajiv Show. And I'm here with my guest Drei Aquino, and we just had an amazing part one. This is we went deep into minimalism and how to approach friends, and how do you filter your friends, or how do you see friends. And it's fun. It's a fun conversation, and we want to open this talk now into more artistic approach, if you know what I mean. And we're gonna talk a bit about music. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you know is that I'm a musician and I love to talk about music. So, Dre, I gotta ask
Mm.
you, what's your favorite genre of all time? Top three. Give me top three. Who's your favorite
Genre?
genre,
Ah,
or bands, or whatever?
sige. What I really love, or yung talagang kung i-ano mo lang yung music taste ko talaga, is I could sum up siguro into statements. It's alternative rock, and then 90s. Yun yung pinakadalawang sub
90s.
genre, let's say. 90s music, parang gano'n kasi yung kinalakihan natin. But yeah, alternative rock because again, I'm kumbaga na-influensyahan and learned to love it from my brothers and including my father then. So, alternative rock yung pinaka gusto ko, pero rock and roll in general. Parang ganyan.
Alternative rock, are we talking Soundgarden? Are we talking
Yeah.
Oh man, you got
Oasis
good
and,
taste.
Yeah. Parang and it's more on the mainstream thing. Yun yung kumbaga wala akong masyadong kilalang mga indie bands na kapag meron nagkukwento na, uy, bro, napakinggan mo tong to galing sa urinating monkeys or something na gano'n na galing UK to.
That's so
galing
weird.
UK ganun.
That's so weird.
made up lang yun. Parang ay hindi, lang yung kung ano lang yung nauso, yun lang yung pero it all started gusto mo yung urinating monkeys.
Oo nga, nagulat ako dun eh.
Yun yung unang pumasok sa isip ko, sorry na. Pero halimbawa, everything started from my father na mahilig sa Beatles, ganyan.
Beatles, the
Zombies,
classic.
ganyan. So, and then we have this radio that plays 24/7. Literal to. 24/7 nagpo-play yung radyo na yon. And nasa station lang siya ng RJ. If you're familiar with that. But RJ is ang piniplay niya is music from say as early as 50s. Minsan meron pang 40s. Up to say late 70s. Yung mga rock music doon. So yun. Growing up, yun yung napapakinggan ko just because 24/7 yung radyo na yun. And then nung medyo nagkaisip na, yung mga brothers ko are really into the say alternative rock, about grunge, punk, yung ganong klaseng music na bumibili sila ng mga cassette tapes ganyan na pinapakinggan ko din kasi pinapakinggan
sorry
nila.
to cut you off there. for those who do not know what cassette tapes are, go Google it. Yeah, back to the topic.
Yeah. And you need number 2 po Mongol pencil para mabilis yung rewind mo, 'di ba? Paikot mo siya
Yeah.
ganun.
Yeah.
'Di ba?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
so we do
creative
that as well.
purposes.
So
Yeah.
doon nag-stem, and then it grew from there. Para na-define kami and then nung nagkasariling, kapag wala yung tatay ko,
Yeah.
nililipat namin sa NU 107, if you're
Yeah.
familiar with that as well, which is rest in peace, NU 107. But yun yung home of new rock, 'di ba? Dito sa Pilipinas, sa radio station. So piniplay niya yung mga rock, mas modern rock na, parang ganyan. So parang best of both worlds, yung old school rock, tapos yung new wave. So yun yung naging, in a way, naging identity ko in terms of music. It's rock and roll, araw at gabi. Yun na. So kasama na yon, both foreign and local. So E-Heads, which is my favorite band sa Pilipinas. And then lahat ng yun, I actually have 2 episodes, I think, sa podcast ko talking about music. Una is yung Pinoy bands, and then another one is the Eraserheads episode. So I have 2 episodes talking just about music. But yeah, yun yung pinaka gusto ko. And the funny thing about growing in a rock and roll household, no? So syempre, nag-transition na kami doon sa mga hardcore na rock, like rock metal, ganyan.
Rage Against the Machines?
Ganon, no?
Yeah.
Korn, Slipknot, mga ganon. So syempre, meron din kaming mga ganong meron kaming ganong era or a span of time na yun yung pinapakinggan namin.
Yeah.
So meron kaming sabi niya, baka rock and roll tayo. No boy bands allowed, diba? Boy band haters kami.
Yeah.
Hip-hop haters kami. Hindi naman haters, pero hindi namin pinapakinggan talaga. And kumbaga, snob kami, in a way. Anong Westlife, anong A1? Iyo.
Yeah.
Rock and roll lang kami, diba? Pero, yun yung ganun ako hanggang siguro going high school.
Yeah.
Pero nung nag-college na, yung talagang medyo nabubuo na yung identity mo as a person. Doon ko na-realize na, hindi, okay din yung mga songs ng ibang klaseng
Yeah. Your ear becomes
genres,
wider. Yeah.
Exactly. And you appreciate more of the other stuff. Like, yun. Though, reggae, ganyan, di ba? Other medyo pop-ish na songs, or yung mga bands na medyo may pagka-pop, doon mo na marirealize na hindi, there's no point in trying to limit yourself, 'di ba? Parang ganon. And doon ko na parang hinabol din na I secretly love Westlife. I love
This
Michael
is
Learns
where
to
you
Rock.
hear it. This is the first.
Parang Michael Learns to Rock, ganyan. Ay, okay din, di ba?
Yeah.
And as well as yung mga medyo, yun nga, yung mga, kasi yung uso sa 90s noon, yung mga medyo nakakasayaw or pangsayaw na kanta.
You're not
Ganon.
into the logical, lyrical songs that make you wonder, parang Queen, Queen music or anything like that?
I do. I do.
Philosophical?
Those are the sa side ng do sa medyo old school na rock.
Classic
And
rock.
on how classic rock, exactly. So on how I listen to music is meron akong specific time for a certain genre or a certain band.
Ooh.
Parang ganun. Halimbawa, 3 days straight, puro Beatles lang yung papakinggan ko. 2 days straight, puro Queen lang yung papakinggan ko. Oo, ganun. Merong 1 week straight, puro E-Heads lang yung papakinggan ko. Or 1 to 2 days, puro 90s na one-hit wonder songs lang yung papakinggan ko. Meron akong ganun. Parang, if I have, kumbaga, kung nag-crave ka ng pagkain, parang talagang bibili ka. Halimbawa, chichirya. Bibili mo yung isang pinakamalaking pack ng chichirya na yun, tapos kakainin ko siya.
Yeah.
Ganun. Parang same with music. Parang hindi ako shuffle player na nagja-jump kahit
Ah.
anong randomly.
Ah.
Parang meron akong kapag nagising ako ngayong umaga or mamaya,
Ah.
I feel like listening to Linkin Park.
Ah.
Then I'll go listen to the album.
The entire. Oh,
of
you binge.
the entire album.
Oh, you
Yeah,
binge
yes,
listen.
exactly. Exactly.
It's funny
So,
you
ganun yung
mentioned.
ano.
It's funny you mentioned binge. That's one thing listeners should do with the albums. I mean, for me
Mhm.
personally, I wanted to also share my thoughts. In terms of rock, I gotta say,
Mhm.
rock music. I think I had a conversation with my father in one of the episodes here in the Let's Talk series, where we dissect my type of music when I was in India.
Mhm.
Because I'm a second generation bass player, and that was because of my dad. And with the story that I got into rock is when I was introduced to Black Sabbath. It's funny. I'm surprised that you've gone up to the level of Korn and Lamb of God. Believe me, my ears cannot really go beyond that. In my opinion,
Mm.
lang. I've only gone up to
Mm.
the holy trinity of heavy metal, which is of course Black Sabbath,
Mhm.
Led Zeppelin, and Deep Purple, the holy trinity of
Mhm.
the British
Yeah,
invasion.
yeah, yeah.
I
Awesome,
cannot
yeah.
go beyond. It's
Mhm.
funny. I try to listen to Pantera. I cannot. It's like my
Mhm.
ears. Metallica. I can say 0.5% I can listen. I could sit through it. A
Yeah,
little bit
there's a
of
few songs there na medyo
yeah.
mellow naman.
Yeah. Uh, well, this one, Judas Priest. Judas Priest. There are some songs that are fast. Yeah. Breaking
Mhm.
the Law, which is
Mhm.
is a little bit punk style, but I could still sing because as long as there's that melody content. Because when it goes out of that stream, I do not know if my ears could really sing. It's
Is this still
funny.
music? Parang gano'n.
Yeah. And
Yun yung pinaka-ano ng nanay ko noon na
yeah.
music pa ba yan? Parang gano'n,
Yeah.
parang nagsisigawan lang sila. Parang
Yeah.
gano'n.
And
Yeah.
at that time when I used to listen to the entire discography, man, I could even when I used to listen to Michael Jackson, I could tell you from front to back the first album that he released when he was Sting, because I used to binge all. I memorized all the albums, even the Invincible album, which failed after he went into the This Is It and then Sing. It's
Mhm.
advisable to binge listen to music because it's the best.
Mhm.
If you're not
Yeah,
binging, you do not know the art, and that thing it actually is a
exactly.
good point. It's a good habit that you have, is that you binge listen, because one is it's funny, people will listen to Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud, but a real fan who knows the entire album will tell you front to back that there are also other songs that are moderately good, averagely good,
Mhm.
amateur good, but you'll know the difference by the storytelling and how the story
Exactly.
progresses. It's like a painting,
Oo,
basically. You have the beginning
exactly.
and then you have the end, or a movie, or
Mm.
a story.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yun yung tama, yun yung hindi nare-realize ng iba din without because the album itself, though
mm,
a very well-made record, has a
yeah,
story do sa mga songs nila.
mm,
There's kumbaga yung kung magaling yung artist, parang
yeah,
the songs, the say a 20 track
yeah,
record is parang seamless yung ano dapat
yeah,
na yung next to the tapos merong parang overall merong story
yeah,
kung bakit album ito, na if you're just going to listen to specific songs na medyo halimbawa nasa Billboard 100 kasi kaya
yeah,
yun yung pinakasikat niyang kanta, so yun yung alam
yeah,
ko and whatnot. And yeah, ano yun, you're supporting the artist din naman when you listen to that. Pero say, have a try lang siguro, no?
yeah,
Yun yung pwede nating ma-advise na,
yeah,
diba, trip niya si Ed, diba? Try nyo
yeah,
pakinggan yung buong album and huwag nyo munang i-shuffle, try nyo kung paano nila dinesign because there's
yeah,
a design to the madness. Meron dahilan bakit ganun yung
yeah,
pagkasunod minsan. So try to listen
mm,
na ano. That is why sobrang epic ng mga mas matatandang generation sa atin
yeah,
kasi they spend time talaga. They invest the time in doing things like listening to a record yung nasa plaka pa.
yeah,
Walang next button dun eh. So
yeah.
kung
It's true.
papakinggan
You
mo,
gotta listen to
medyo
the whole thing. You have to hear it
whole
out.
thing, yeah. On how it was intended by the artist,
Yeah.
diba?
But
So,
although
I
there's
guess,
the one negative side there lang is that in the generation that came, in my opinion also, is that the generation that came, somehow the albums that they have, good songs, good tracks, like I said,
Mhm.
but there's no narrative storytelling. I think that's one
Mhm.
particular
Mhm.
opinionated thing. That's why people want to shuffle tracks, is because there
Exactly,
is no
exactly.
narrative. But aside from that, I
True.
don't think it's worth ignoring, because you may
Yeah,
never
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Because
It's worth trying.
yeah,
As I've
yeah,
said, yung ma-advice lang is go ahead and try. If it doesn't work for you, then okay lang naman. Wala namang
yeah,
tama at mali sa pakikinig ng musika. Pero
yeah,
it's good that you mentioned that. Yung minsan, even the artists themselves now, minsan, dahil din sa kanila parang, ay, sayang yung parang pilit in a way. Like,
yeah.
the last album that I've listened to is, I don't know if you know this artist, it's called Joji.
Joji sounds
Joji.
familiar.
That, yeah, Joji. So meron siyang bagong album ngayon and pinakinggan ko, parang there's a few, nilabas yung singles niya na parang nakaapat yata siya ng singles out of that album before it released. And those singles are parang his best work so
Yeah,
far, especially yung Ron. I love yung song niya na Ron.
yeah,
Um, mamaya sendan kita ng link para pero
yeah,
para namang ma-experience mo yung experience ko in a way. It's just a 3-minute song so hindi siya ganun kahaba. Pero listening to the whole album, this is his second studio album.
yeah,
And it was, sa akin, this is just my opinion, it was a letdown kasi parang you have a few songs pero
yeah,
walang hindi cohesive yung yung other tracks niya at the same time parang overproduced in a
yeah,
way. Parang kasi he started on his own parang independent siya nung una. And
yeah.
up to this point, meron siyang isang EP
Oh,
and dalawang studio albums. Yung original EP niya pa rin yung gusto ko. Kahit hindi technically good,
yeah.
parang alam mo na he produced it in just a laptop and whatnot. Pero para sa akin, yun pa rin yung the best work niya para sa akin. Overall. So yun, yeah, tama ka na sa generation natin ngayon, di ba? Everything is fast-paced, everything is marketed, everything is produced, overly produced sometimes. So yeah, that is true. But again, halimbawa, papakinggan nyo is from the generation na they gave a crap in their music. Like Michael Jackson, Queen. Yun yung pong sinasabi namin na itry nyo.
Yeah.
Try nyo yung buong album, di ba?
So yeah, wow, we've covered a lot. I mean, our first half of the conversation was much more deeper than I'd expected. Before I forget, Pal, if someone wants to find you on social media, how do they connect with you?
Okay, cool. If you want to at least try my podcast, it's called Coffee Breakers Club Podcast with Drei. And again, I'm available everywhere podcasts are heard. No? So I'm available, nasa Spotify tayo, nasa Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all that. No? Andun tayo lahat. At the same time, if you want to have a deeper experience with the podcast, is try to look for the Facebook page. Just simply type in Coffee Breakers Club Podcast and lilitaw ako. And at the same time, we also have a YouTube channel where I post yung mga podcast episodes pero in a video format. So yeah, hopefully matry nyo and magustuhan nyo. Yan.
And shout out to what he mentioned. This guy is an amazing person. For us as podcasters, I just wanted to say that we upload weekly. This guy uploads more than 50 episodes, and we are just wondering what's how good his internet is. But yeah, let's just leave it to your imagination. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's just an additional add-in. And yeah, thank you, Drei, for joining me in this conversation.
Yeah.
It was a lovely conversation.
Yeah.
More power to
Kulang
you.
na lang talaga ng kape. Yeah. Ay,
Oo nga eh.
thanks.
Yeah.
Salamat. Yeah.
And more power to you. Keep doing what you do. And for those who are listening, I hope you picked up a thing or two in this conversation. Folks, if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to send your love, to whatever you hear this podcast. And with that in mind, folks, cheers. I will see you in the next episode.
See you around. Bye-bye.